In the last few months, I have let my writing desk get very messy and piled up with all sorts of things that I'm long overdue cleaning and tidying up and sorting out. So today I decided to take each of the bits and pieces and put them on my drawing desk. An external hard drive, a pack of pens, some loose pens, loose pieces of card, a pack of pens, loose paper, a sketchbook, more loose pens and pencils, business cards, a dual tab driver, an adapter for video players, another sketchbook, a folder of paintbrushes, tablets, another sketchbook, Hessian sacks, an unused watercolour set, a pack of pencils, another sketchbook, a book on natural dyes, receipts, a clothes peg, a self-portrait, loose paper, a set of soft pastels, a painting and packets of crisps. It just needed tidying up. And look at this heap of items, and it's still not everything that was on the desk. The desk is still half full of packs of pencils, frames, calendars, loose paper, packs of pens, a video player, videotapes, folders, all sorts of things. So today I spent some time separating all of these things into piles before I could really put them where they need to go eventually. And that was my first job of the day today. And it feels good. My next job of the day is to nip into town, go and see the frame shop and pick up some boards which will back the pastel paintings in the frame. I'll nip and do that and have a nice chat with them. They are a really nice couple. I hope it doesn't rain because I don't have my brolly. They are the couple who set me and the other artist up for our exhibition in Carnarvon. When I say set up, I mean they got us the work framed, really nice work, very friendly. They did really good prices, and they even gave us extra frames and mount board and all kinds of things, you know, so they're very generous people, very nice. Well, it has become quite busy in town now, so I'm going to struggle to get out, I think. Thank you very much, actually, that was very courteous of them. It was raining, and but thankfully I managed to park right outside the frame shop, which is a relief. It's lovely to see them, they are really nice people, and I do recommend, if you are at all local and looking to have work framed, to check out Ian Grant Designs. I'll always go to them, because the difference between frames that you buy at, you know, the Range or Wilko's or any kind of cheaper frame compared to what Ian Grant Design does is a huge difference. You know, it's much higher quality framing, mounting, and it just looks much better. I've taken work into a gallery. I made a video about it, and when the gallery was assessing the work I was submitting to be sold there, they said it's good, it's well framed, and they recognise it. And I think lots of galleries that are worth exhibiting in will assess your work for the quality of the framing as well as the quality of the work. So that is something which I am an advocate for, put it that way. As soon as I got back, the first thing that I needed to do was to check that the boards I'd just purchased to be cut for these frames, I had measured correctly. I know that they do a fantastic job at Ian Grant Designs. I wasn't 100% confident that I had measured correctly, partly because I measured them whilst I was on the phone to them, describing what I was after, and I can make mistakes when I'm trying to multitask. So that's what I'm doing here, is just getting the frame which I measured, getting the boards, and making sure that they fit correctly in the frames. And it turns out they do, which is a relief, because if that weren't the case, then I would either have to make an embarrassing phone call and ask them to do it again, or try to cut my own boards now that I've seen what the product looks like that they've provided, because I think it's something which I might be able to do in the future. But I do like to give businesses like this my support. But there we are, that's just something which, if I can do it, then why not do it myself? Anyway, and then I also wanted to consider for this Inktober challenge something a little bit different, because what I have been doing, as you may know, is drawing from imagination. And if I do use a reference, I'll use several references for that one image I did in red ink and then put black ink on top. I don't know if you remember that one. Anyway, the point being that it was a bit scribbly, and I wanted to do something that may be slightly scribbly but a bit less so, you know, a bit more just line work, and to combine some of my inks in the way of black ink and then grayscale pens as well, because I think that that can look really nice. So for this, I thought I will get out some A3 paper that's quite thick and fairly shiny as well. It's not, you know, completely glossy, but I mean, it's compared to your thinner print paper, this is actually got a bit more of a coating to it, which I don't mind, especially for these types of ink drawings. It doesn't make the ink go slick or to bubble up or anything like that. It's just on the verge of that type of plasticky feel, and for the type of drawings that I do, sometimes that's actually quite suitable. And then I'm using a 0.3 fine liner from the Pigma Micron set, And for the grayscale brush pens, I'm using the Faber-Castell grayscale brush pens, which I've used several times before, and you'll be able to see straight away which one I use most often, because it's actually starting to dry up a little bit, which is not the worst thing in the world. When a pen dries up, it just means that you can use it as a faded application of ink instead. I had already mentioned that my intention for one of the images coming up, if not several, will be from television series that I enjoy, and there are several that I have in my mind, and I grabbed a reference from an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm that I was watching today, and it's just an image which I thought would work nicely because it's a house party, a dinner party, and you can see several characters stood from a fairly mid-range shot, which means that you can see the head and the feet, which I always enjoy when it comes to drawing figures, to not have them cropped from the reference. That's a decision which I like to make, really, and ideally you'd get the whole pose from the head to the toes, really. And I didn't include every character in the scene, only a few of them, but I do enjoy drawing like this, and it was slightly rushed, I must admit. My drawing, I could have taken longer over this, or I could have done it slightly looser and ended up with something nicer. I don't know how to explain it, but I have this in-between finish. I'm always dissatisfied with how I do these drawings, but I like the fact that it became a combination of the line work and then the Faber-Castell brush pens for the grayscale work. That is a good thing. If I hadn't done that and I'd done hatching instead, I don't think I would have come out with an image that I was as keen on. But it is a work in progress, trying to now reach this better stage of work. And as much as a lot of artists will encourage quicker work and more, swooping lines, I actually want to take a little bit longer over certain drawings and try to reach another stage of a delicate and considered finish, where I'm slightly more meticulous over the details and the mark making, and then the looser, faster gestural drawing I'll try to develop and produce alongside that. I don't necessarily think that you have to only practice one type of drawing. And at the moment, I feel as though the only thing that I practice is something in between the two. Something that's loose and scribbly, but not fast and gestural, and has the beautiful mark making. And because it's slightly scribbly, it's only slightly scribbly, and I'm spending a little bit of time trying to clean that up afterwards. And I don't mind that too much, but I don't think that I'm really growing as a draftsman, which I would like to do now. You'll hear a lot of this dissatisfaction in my latest videos, because I am very keen to grow and to improve, and that's always something which I believe artists should strive for. And I could be wrong. There could be artists out there who think that's maybe not something they necessarily value, but I can't imagine who that is, because I've seen it so often in different types of artists to try to push themselves to create something which they haven't made before, and to find this way to travel through this I'm trying to avoid the word journey, because instead it's more you're traveling through this kind of portal of trial and error and reflection and introspection and contemplation. And this may all sound like buzzwords, but literally this is everything which I experience. Is I'll try something, it will fail, I'll reflect upon that failure, hope for better images, and then look inside myself for what actually I value and where it fell short. And then I will spend quite a bit of time thinking about ways in which to increase the impact of my art making on myself and on the practice and the final result. Now in this drawing, this is a daily drawing, so it's not necessarily the same thing, but even in this drawing, I've decided to isolate certain characters, change certain things about poses, and just slight alterations in order to satisfy my own vision in this piece. And it's only small things. There's no background. There's certain people who don't appear in the picture. I decided to slightly turn one of the characters more than they were in the reference, and that was a compositional decision that I made. But also there were no shadows underneath the figures, and I decided to put shadow puddles underneath them in order to ground them, partly in response to the fact that I hadn't created any of the environment in my drawing, which could have been easy enough as far as I could have just used a grayscale lines to create the composition and the perspective. But I just felt as though I like the way the characters sit in space, and if I can just ground them with a shadow, then I'd be more satisfied with that. But that is departing from the source material, and it's very small decisions, but they can lead to larger and larger decisions, like changing colours entirely from what they are. And this is something which I've mentioned on the podcast before, and it's things like, just because a fence is brown, you can make it blue, so long as it doesn't clash with anything it's surrounding and it's tonally equivalent with the brown. So that's my thoughts on what I strive to achieve and learn and create. But this piece I quite like as far as a submission. I got the number 19 on the shoulder, and that's it, it's done.